All right, everyone, welcome back. Ready for another deep dive?
Ready when you are.
Perfect, because today's topic is a doozy. We're talking about Rudy Giuliani,
Former Mayor Giuliani.
the one and only. And let's just say it's not good news.
Oh, yeah. This is about him losing his law license, right? In
I
D.C.
know it. And that's after New York did the same thing earlier this year. So we're talking double disbarment, not exactly small potatoes.
Definitely not. This is about as serious as it gets for a lawyer.
Exactly right. And that's why we're here. We got to go deeper than the headlines. This isn't just about Giuliani, is it? It's about the whole legal system, ethics, and frankly, what happens when things go really wrong.
100%. There's some big picture implications here for sure.
So before we get into the weeds, let's do a quick level set. What are the actual facts of the case? We know Giuliani was super vocal about the 2020 election results, especially in Pennsylvania,
Right. He was a big supporter of challenging those results,
to put it mildly. And both D.C. and New York, these courts decided that his actions in trying to overturn the election were enough to get him disbarred.
which, likely said, is basically the most severe punishment a lawyer can get. It's the legal profession giving a big thumbs down.
Okay, so disbarment, bad news. Got it. But what does it actually mean? I mean, it's not like they just take away his briefcase and say, no more lawyering for you.
Well, it's kind of like that, but also much bigger. See, disbarment means a court has officially decided that a lawyer can no longer practice law in that jurisdiction, period. They literally remove their name from the role of licensed attorneys. No more representing clients, arguing cases, the whole shebang.
Whoa, so it's basically the legal equivalent of getting kicked out of the club. And a very exclusive club at that.
Exactly. And it's not something that happens lightly. There's got to be some really serious misconduct for a court to even consider disbarment.
And in this case, it sounds like they were pretty unanimous in their decision since it happened twice.
Yeah, and I gotta say, the fact that it happened in both New York, where Giuliani made his whole career, A&D in D.C., that really tells you something. This wasn't just one group of people out to get him. This was a serious breach of professional conduct, at least in the eyes of the law.
Okay, so let's talk about that conduct. What exactly did Giuliani do that led to this? Because the sources we have kind of dance around it. They mention inaccurate and unsupported claims about the election. But come on, give us the specifics.
Right, you want the juicy bits, and I get it, but the truth is, the details are less important legally than the overall pattern of behavior. It's not about one specific thing he said. It's about a sustained effort to undermine the election process with claims that couldn't be proven. At least that's what the courts found.
I see. So less about the individual trees, more about the whole forest being on fire, metaphorically speaking.
Exactly, and that's where the real danger lies, you know? If people believe that the election system is rigged or corrupt, why would they even bother to vote? It's about public trust.
That's a great point. And speaking of trust, isn't it kind of strange that Giuliani didn't even try to defend himself in the D.C. case? He was fighting like crazy in New York, but in D.C., radio silence. What's up with that?
That is bizarre, right? Honestly, your guess is as good as mine. We can speculate all day, but the sources don't give us a clear answer.
Yeah.
Maybe he just felt like it was a losing battle. Or maybe his legal strategy shifted.
Yeah, who knows what was going on behind the scenes, but it definitely makes you think. Okay, so we've talked about the what and the why of Giuliani's disbarment, but let's zoom out for a sec. Why should the average person care about this? This isn't just about some lawyer getting into trouble, right? What's the bigger takeaway here?
You hit the nail on the head. This is about so much more than one guy. Look, lawyers, they hold a unique position in our society. We're supposed to be the guardians of the law, the ones who uphold justice. So when a lawyer, especially one as high profile as Giuliani, is disbarred for making claims that undermine our democracy, it should give us all pause.
Because it makes you question, if someone like that can be so far off base, what does that mean for the rest of us? How do we know what to believe?
Exactly. It's a stark reminder that we can't just blindly trust anyone, even those in positions of power. We got to think critically, question our own biases, and be really careful about the information we consume and spread, especially when it comes to something as vital as our elections.
Couldn't agree more. This whole situation is a perfect example of why we do this deep dive. Because sometimes the story is much bigger than it seems. So before we wrap up, I want to leave our listeners with a little food for thought. We've talked about how Giuliani didn't defend himself in the D.C. case, but what if he had? What arguments could he have made?
Ooh, that's an interesting question. He could have gone the free speech route, claiming he had the right to express his doubts about the election, or maybe argue that he genuinely believed those claims, even if they weren't ultimately substantiated.
Right. Could have even said he was just zealously representing his client, even if it meant pushing the boundaries a bit.
Exactly. It's a thorny issue, and there are no easy answers.
That's for sure. But it's something to chew on, right? The intersection of free speech, legal ethics, and the integrity of our elections. That's a lot to unpack. Well, on that note, we're going to go ahead and wrap things up. Big thanks to everyone for joining us on another deep dive. And remember, stay curious, keep asking questions, and never stop seeking out the truth. Until next time.